All right, y'all. Well, we are grateful this morning to have so many folks here. I know there'll be a few people who are coming in over the next minute or so, but this is one of our really marquee events that we do over the course of the year. And while we were just talking, if you've been listening about Zoom and kind of all the ways that we tried to set things up uniquely, and knowing that Zoom is something that on the one hand is a great tool, on the other hand, it's obviously different than being in person. And nonetheless, we're really excited this morning for what we have and the chance that we have as a school community to be able to step back and to reflect on the life and legacy of Dr. King in particular, and to think about what his life meant, what his legacy meant, even for the here and now. And so really grateful for that. I'm excited this morning because this is also a chance for us as a school community to gather together as faculty and staff and parents and students. And we have all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade that is on this call. And so if you are in kindergarten and you're listening in, know that we are thinking about you. And if you're in 12th grade, know that we are thinking about you. And there are going to be some things on both sides of that where you might have questions that come up. And so if you're in kindergarten or first grade or second grade and you're thinking a little bit about, I heard this word, or I didn't really know what was going on here, there'll be great chances to talk to your teacher about it and to talk to your parents about it. And for those of you obviously who are upperclassmen, there's going to be a different kind of level of engagement today. And so we are really excited for the opportunity we have in particular, not only to hear from our students, but also to hear from Mr. George Lombard, whom we will introduce in just a little bit. So I want to give you a brief glimpse of what's ahead. We will be hearing from Marley Froh, and she's going to talk a bit about the Frederick Douglass Society, which has been started this year. And we will then have a video from the Frederick Douglass Society with a brief reflection on Black history in particular, even in anticipation of Black History Month coming up next month. Then we will be hearing from Anya Williams Phelps, who will be just reading a bit about Dr. King and his legacy, in particular with a reflection on our school virtues. And then after that point, we will be able to dive into speaking with Mr. Lombard, really in reflecting on his own story and his own journey. And then we will finish up with a song that that I will introduce at that point. So in the realm of just a brief thought to begin, one of the reasons that we think so much about history and spend so much time studying history is not because we just like to learn facts. It's not just that we like to talk about virtue. It's not just that we like to be able to say things, but we want to be the kind of people who, as a community, reflect on historical realities and to learn from them. We want to find people throughout history who have been inspirational, who've been courageous. And we certainly get that opportunity when thinking about Dr. King himself. And so part of the point this morning is not just to refresh our own minds about who Dr. King was, but also to consider what's the call to us as a community and how we might live even today. So with that said, I'm going to turn things over to Marley Froh, one of our esteemed upperclassmen, and we're going to hear a little bit about the Frederick Douglass Society.
Good morning. My name is Marley Froh. I'm a proud senior representing Atlanta Classical Academy and the founding member of the Frederick Douglass Society, initiated in August of 2020. This past year has created uncertain times for all of us in so many ways. However, we've all persevered, facing challenges with grace, honesty, and integrity, some of which are virtues as we embody at the ACA community. The Frederick Douglass Society is prepared and equipped to operate in excellent, bringing our community together to discuss challenging topics, facing obstacles with honor, and respecting all people. As we all know, the work is not done in what you say, however, in how you execute a plan of action. Our goal is to unite all students, promoting one voice and understanding all cultural backgrounds.
Morning, my name is Marley Froh, senior at Atlanta Classical Academy, founder of Frederick Douglass Society, and today we present to you a tidbit of history. Pre-Civil War revolts, rebellions, and protests were taking place.
Hold on, keep your hand on the plow. Hold on.
Civil rights demonstrations, protests, and boycotts occurred in every major urban area in the country during this era. This time period has become the center of discussion when learning about history.
I'm gonna leave you. I'm sorry, I'm gonna leave you. Farewell, oh farewell. But I'll meet you in the morning. Farewell, oh farewell. I'll meet you in the morning. I'm bound for the promised land on the other side of Jordan.
This was a time that children of the civil rights movement expected and in some cases demanded change. Protests that emerged from this era left many promises unfulfilled.
Farewell, oh farewell. Oh, meet you in the morning. Farewell, oh farewell. Oh, meet you in the morning. Farewell, oh farewell.
During this era, there was a significant rise in injustice and brutality, and most of it was recorded. America's youth were joining ranks in civil rights protests, and people of all colors began to come together to create a louder voice.
In the movement of Lives Mattering, the voice of people of color became formal and organized. The idea of wanting for something to happen was like looking at your past without requiring change.
Together, we are America. We are ACA. The Frederick Douglass Society will focus on uniting students of all races. The priority of the club would be to facilitate conversations about challenging topics in which all participants are equally empowered to contribute.
Thank you for watching. We hope to see you at our club soon.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education." King displayed both intelligence and character throughout his life. Martin Luther King Jr. was an intelligent student who skipped 2 grades and started college at 15. He went on to earn 2 bachelor's degrees and a PhD. His education and love of reading helped him write many powerful sermons and speeches. Dr. King's life displayed the virtues of courage, courtesy, honesty, perseverance, self-government, and service. King showed courage in the midst of much opposition. Despite many threats to his property, his family, and his life, he continued the important work to change unfair laws. King showed courtesy in his teachings. He always encouraged people to peacefully protest inequality. King believed in avoiding the use of weapons or physical fighting. King preached, "Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." Dr. King achieved respect and trust by being an honest man. He inspired many of his followers by being a man of honesty and integrity. Martin Luther King Jr. showed perseverance as he would not stop fighting for the reality of justice for all. King was arrested 30 times while peacefully fighting injustice. He fought until his death and never gave up. The work that Dr. King devoted himself to required much self-government as he kept his emotions under control as many people were against him. Strong leaders are known for their selfless service to others. Dr. King is quoted to have said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" Dr. King remained focused on equal rights for all people and died leading this movement to benefit all people. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a great American hero, leaving a legacy of historical examples of courage, courtesy, honesty, perseverance, self-government, and service. If Dr. King was here, he might ask you, what are you doing for others? Maybe there is a future American hero sitting amongst us. Thank you, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., for your example for us to follow.
Well, thank you so much, Marley and Anya in particular, and we are so grateful for the work that y'all have been doing with the Frederick Douglass Society and getting that off the ground this year. And thank you also to those who've been involved. I know we have other students who've been involved. Mr. Sheps has been involved, Nurse Holland, Mrs. Thompson, Mrs. Wilson, and so many others. And we're just deeply grateful, knowing how hard it is to start something new when we have been virtual for about 10 months now. So we're really, really grateful for the work that y'all are doing. We are excited this morning to have the chance to speak with Mr. George Lombard. And I will just give a brief introduction to him. And my first introduction to Mr. Lombard actually was when I was a good bit younger than now. And Mr. Lombard might have a few years on me. And I was introduced to him many, many years ago by Dr. Jordan. Many of y'all know Dr. Jordan as our school's guidance counselor and college counselor. And she and her family, they were the ones who introduced me to baseball. And I remember having this sense of just amazement that I was able to meet somebody who's playing professionally. And I met Mr. George Lombard, and I got an autographed baseball from him. And this very morning, we get to speak with him. And we're excited about that. Mr. Lombard has played professionally himself for a number of years. He was an outfielder and grew up around the Atlanta area. And most recently was the first base coach for the world champion Dodgers last year. And so congratulations for that, Mr. Lombard. And then now has the privilege of being the bench coach for the Detroit Tigers. And so as you might imagine, he is a very busy man, and we're very grateful for the chance to be with you this morning. I will say Dr. Jordan sends her greetings to you, George, and we're excited for the chance to hear a bit about your story. One of the things that's been particularly exciting to me is that Mr. Lombard is really, as he has been just considering even the nature of what's been happening in our country, kind of leaning into his own story and learning in particular about his mom and her story. And so this morning we get the chance to talk to him. So Mr. Lombard, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. It's well, first of all, Marley and Anya, well said and very nice to start the program. But we talk about making ourselves uncomfortable, and you know, I've been very comfortable. I like to do Zoom calls from an office at my house, but I'm in the middle of doing a house project here. We're doing some construction in our house, so I had kid drop off, and I promised I'd do this. So I'm in the back of my car like a late night TV show, and filming from my car. So I apologize if I have somebody walking in and crossing my path, but I try to position my car in the back corner where no one's going to mess with me and have my doors shut here. So thank you for having me.
We do see a palm tree in the background, and that does maybe make us a little bit jealous of the warmth that you're experiencing right now, but we'll try to get over it.
I have about 1 month left before I take off for 6 or 7 months for a baseball season. So I'm trying to get as much done on this new house as possible. But I'll kick it off like we can turn it into a Q&A when we finish up. But the subject for me is making a difference, and that's what I was kind of asked to speak on. And over the past 6 months, I think all of our lives have been turned upside down, and we've seen some things that really opened our eyes up. And I like to start the talk with thinking of the most impactful person in your life, and think of a person that has really made a huge difference in your life. You know, the person that really cares about you, this person that loves you, that listens to you, but also hears you. And when I think of that person, the person that jumps to my mind is my mom. You know, looking back, I'm 45 years old now. I used to think that I had the most normal life of any kid growing up. And now that I've kind of dug into this a little more and gotten a little older, I realized that it was anything but normal. Grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, on the south side of town, off of Lakewood Freeway. It wasn't a great neighborhood, and I had biracial parents. I have this white mother from a very privileged family. My mom was one of 7. My grandfather was the dean of Harvard. Grew up in Boston. They had this huge property on Cape Cod. They would go every summer, and highly educated family. And then at the opposite end of the spectrum, I had my dad was very dark-skinned black man from South Georgia, and came from no money at all. He was one of six, so complete opposite end of the spectrum. But what I did know is I had two loving parents, but my mom was the one that really laid the groundwork and was the one that raised my brother and my sister. So I have an older brother that's a year and a month older than me, and a younger sister. So when I think of the things that my mom do, they're very advanced, this exact mindset. So I think of these stories that my mom came up with and these things that she did to talk about her. But she would make us write in our diaries, which if you're a young kid, it's probably not the one of the things you look forward to waking up and doing. But we'd have a dinner and we'd have to write in our diaries, and you would have to write something positive about your sibling. And we also had like exchange students staying with us, so it was usually 5 or 6 people after a dinner, and then we'd have to exchange diaries and write in your sibling something positive about your brother, something positive about your sister, and then we have to stand up and read the diary in front of the class. So I have a young kid. I have 15-year-old and 13-year-old, and I know how difficult it is for them to say something positive about their sibling. But looking back at, like, even on our worst day, like, we just arguably went through one of the most difficult times that we'll ever go through, that we can find something good out of the day. But just these little lessons of making a difference and changing your life. And then I think of this feisty side that my mom had to her. I said we grew up at off of Rhine Hill Road in Southeast Atlanta. It was almost like two dead end streets came to meet, and it was that type of neighborhood. If you left something out, there's a good chance it wasn't there in the morning. So my brother gets his bike stolen, and we know who did it. It was a group of young kids that we were scared to death of, and these kids probably didn't know any better. But here's my mom, white woman, confronts about 7 or 8 kids, walks right up to them, snatches the bike, and teaches them, like, this is, if you want something, you got to earn it. But it also taught us to never back down from anything. So these life lessons of learning and making a difference and not being scared and living fearless. My mom was one fearless person. And the third story that I talk about, and I mean, there's the stories go on for days, but it happened before I was born. And my mom was involved in the civil rights movement. And just like we saw in the black and white videos with Dr. King and John Lewis and Ralph Abernathy, my mom was right in the thick of things, marching. So she learned from these excellent teachers that she had when she was at Smith College, about making a difference. And she jumped in a car and headed south and was deeply involved in the civil rights movement and really helped with voting rights of minorities. And she was arrested 7 to 10 times, risked her life many times. And she was arrested right before the Selma March. And I kept trying to figure out why she wasn't involved in the march. But there's a group of civil rights leaders that wanted this small group they thought it was a very dangerous march. And they wanted her at the Capitol kind of to soften the entrance when they got there. So she spent time in jail then. And you talk about making a difference in lives and fighting for this cause when you're a white woman and standing up for the equal rights of all is something very special. She was good friends with John Lewis, and in fact, my sister's first job was working for John Lewis. So it's been an emotional year, and we've gone through a lot. So then we have these obstacles, these events in our lives that we all have that we know are going to change our life forever. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was 1985, and we spent every summer, my brother, sister, and I, and my mom, up in Cape Cod. And I can remember my grandmother and grandfather calling me into the kitchen and saying there's been a terrible accident. And they said, your mom has been in an accident, and it doesn't look like she's going to survive. So like first you didn't believe it. You know, you're waiting on her to walk through that door and give you this huge hug and kiss and this big smile that kind of warmed up everybody. And it wasn't going to happen. So, you know, I was 10 years old. My brother was 11. My sister was 7 years old. And you talk about turning your life upside down. It happened. So from Cape Cod, we got back down to Atlanta, and I think of all the people that made a difference in my life and my teachers, and from Warren T. Jackson Elementary School, Sutton Middle School, the Lovett School, these teachers. I remember being at Sutton, and I had this teacher, Carolyn Beavers, who was my homeroom teacher, my social studies teacher, but she would just listen to me. You know, she would hear me, and I'm super grateful for that and the difference that she made. And I had Coach Duncan was the PE teacher at Sutton Middle School, and he was the one that opened up my eyes to the Lovett School. He made a phone call, knew Bill Raley, the football coach over at Lovett, and got me over there and got my foot in the door and told me how to apply. And when he found a kid that he thought could make it at this private school, he tried to introduce him to this school and knew that it would be a good fit for me. So that's when I get to Lovett. I think at this age, my sports, I was always this super athletic kid, and my sports really took off. It was that one time in the day you could just kind of take the pain away and focus on competing, and took my mind off of the accident with my mom. And this is when we really got to know our father. Like I said, my parents were never married, so my brother and I can move. Remember my dad moving in with us, and you know, and it's just our lives. It drastically changed from what we were used to what we were, what was going to happen. And my brother says, well, we can remember being in court and then them asking us, do we want to keep our last name Lombard, my mom's last name, or do we want to have Williams? And that's a difficult question for a young kid and trying to make these big decisions. And so I had so many people step up. My brother was always a hero to me, but you know, he took it to another level with you know, helping with my homework, paying bills, and just doing things that normal kids wouldn't have to do. We were washing our clothes and making food and dinner, and at a much younger age than you know, most kids have to do it at. But we knew we found a way. It brought us closer together. So moving forward, I think of the Lovett School and the teachers that impacted my life. There's a woman on this call, Carolyn Jordan, is like a second mom to me, and Miles Jordan. So times were very difficult. We had one car, lived on the other side of town, went to this, you know, preppy private school, and we had no car to get there. But I remember Carolyn offering a car. We lived with her for, you know, a few months of my senior and junior year, which just made life a lot easier, and talk about making a difference in my life. And like I mentioned earlier, Bill Raley was the football coach. He was a football coach for me. He was a mentor to me. He was a father and just a friend, and someone that would listen to me. He toughened me up. And Jim Glasser, another coach. I remember being stuck on the other side of town. I couldn't get to summer practice, and he said, I got an idea. He goes, give me directions to your house. I'm going to come pick you up. You know, like these type of things they go a long way, and you never forget them. I mean, it was a 30-minute drive, and this is before cell phone. So, you know, I got to, you know, take a right at the gas station, take a left here, and, you know, kind of draw out this map for him to come get me in a rough area. But all these coaches that made a difference, in teachers, and, you know, I could go on for days of the people that helped me and made a difference in my life. So as I progress into my senior year, I become this two-sport kind of All-American, have a chance to go to play college football or college or baseball. And I chose to go to University of Georgia on a full scholarship to play football and baseball. And you do this commitment in January, February, so you still have to play out your senior year. And come June, I get drafted in the second round by the Atlanta Braves. So now I have to make a decision whether I want to go to college and get my education, or go pro and have the Atlanta Braves pay for my schooling. And at that point, I'm 18 years old, and it sounded like a ton of money, which it was a ton of. I signed for $425,000 in 1994 to go play for the Atlanta Braves, and I'd never been to a minor league baseball game in my life, but I got sent down to West Palm Beach, and I got I guess you could call it a rude awakening, and playing against a bunch of other professional athletes. And I remember hitting a $140 in my first year. And for those of you that don't know baseball, a $140 is not very good. So it was difficult, and it was the first time that I really failed in sports. And but I think of all the coaches that made a difference, and I think of Leon Roberts. They called him Redbone. You know, lived in Texas. This big 6'4" Texas guy that. And I can remember being, you know, actually Carolyn was at some of these games. It'd be 100 degrees, and we're outside in the cages doing batting practice for a 7 o'clock game, and it's 10 o'clock in the morning. So the coaches that believed in you and stood by you when times were difficult. And I remember Chino Carajilla, this overweight Cuban coach with a huge personality that he was there to pick me up after those 0 for 4s and 0 for 5s, but he was also there to humble me when I had that 4 for 4 and keep me level-headed. So I'm super grateful for that. And I went on to play 16 years professionally, bounced around with 8 different organizations, finished with parts of 6 years in the major leagues. And one of the cooler moments in my life was, you know, getting called up to the big leagues. And September 1st was my father's birthday, and I got my first major league start, I think right around my birthday, and my mom's birthday was my first major league hit, all in September. So special moment, and I will never forget the people that made a difference in my life. So I wrap up 16 years, and I think that last 3 years I was getting more coaching offers than I was playing offers. So that's, for those of you that need a better, that's a sign that your playing career is coming to an end. And so
it's a sign
I had
of a new opportunity.
Yes, new opportunity, and a chance to make a difference in some young professional athletes. So fortunate to work for the Boston Red Sox for 6 years. I got a chance to manage, to be a hitting coach, and then eventually become the outfield base running coordinator. So I implemented all of the outfield drills that the Red Sox were teaching at the time, and I came up with the philosophies and stuff. So great time, and really make a difference, not only in with players, but when you're managing and you're coordinating, you're actually teaching the other coaches. So now you have a chance to kind of spread your knowledge and it really impact a number of players. And from there, I made a quick stop in Atlanta to be the field coordinator. So I was in charge. It was like come full circle back to Atlanta and run their entire minor leagues. And I had that job for about 4 months when the LA Dodgers called me and offered me the first base job in the big leagues. And John Stroholtz and John Hart, both running the Braves, completely understood and knew that I earned that position. And George, he said, George, if you can make this work with your family, there's no reason you shouldn't take this job. And he's like, hell, go take this job, and you might be a manager for the Braves one day. So that was the first time that I had in my mind that someone actually mentioned me and managing in the big leagues. But you know, that kind of opened your eyes up. So I've spent the last 5 years in LA. We went to 5 playoffs, 3 World Series, and we finally won it this year. What was interesting about those 5 years, our team got better every year. And you talk about failing at the highest level. When you lose 2 World Series, one of them was Game 7. That's very, very difficult to bounce back and produce a better team. And I was so proud of our guys and the staff that we had. So it's cool. That's it. That takes me to Detroit. I thought I was going to be in LA for many years, and I got this opportunity to be the bench coach. For those of you that don't know what a bench coach, you're pretty much the assistant manager. If the manager gets kicked out of the game, I'm the one running the team. But it's the final thing I need in my resume to become a major league manager, and that also puts me closer to my family. Spring training's in Florida. I live in Miami, so it's another great opportunity to impact a lot of players. and kind of teach and make a difference in so many lives. So like my challenge, what I like to kind of end with is my challenge for you guys is to make a difference. I mean, you look at the things that my mom did and such a short life. She lost her. I lost my mom when I was 10 years old, and she, as you can see now, is still making a huge difference in so many lives with her story. And that's one of the reasons I'm pushing her story and what she did. Um, just fighting for equal rights. So we get this opportunity every day to make a difference, to go out there and, it can be as simple as, working with some kids and helping them write in a diary, or standing up to some kids that stole a bike, or even as powerful as marching in the civil rights movement. So, like I said, we get this opportunity every day to make a difference. So thank you guys for having me. And I'm not sure what you guys were looking for, but I hope this
No,
is
it's great.
impressive.
That's great. Yeah, we're so thankful. And one of the things that stands out to me is just, you've had so much success professionally, right? And it would be very easy, as you reflect on your own story, to just look and be like, well, I was a good athlete because I did hard work and I was naturally gifted. But so much of the trajectory of what you're talking about is looking toward other people. And that sense of, finding opportunities for gratitude for people who've had an impact on you. So I take that to be, a challenge to all of us, whether as educators or parents or as students, as we've all got the chance to make an impact, like you said. I'm curious. It's my understanding you found out almost more about your mom even in recent years, and you come across an FBI file of surveillance of your mom, and I'm curious what this was like when you were reflecting on kind of finding out more about her even after she had passed. What's that been like for you?
Well, no, that really catches everyone's attention. It was, I've read the file. My brother's a lawyer in California, and he was the one that kind of dug into it, looked up her name, and they got and got the government to release the file. But I guess there's two more files that they haven't released yet. So it's learning more about that era. Like, anyone that was heavily involved was being surveillanced. I shouldn't say anyone. Most people, I think, that were heavily involved were being surveillanced. I talked with Ambassador Young, who my mom was close with, and Ambassador Young, Andy Young, was the gentleman that gave the prayer at my mom's service. So they were very close, and it's. I just got a hold of that service and heard it's like a 3-minute prayer that's unbelievable, describing my mom and the things that she did, and hearing this man talk about my mom, and I could completely visualize everything. So the files were very unique, and when I was talking with Ambassador Young, he still has wiretaps in his house today. He said he doesn't want to remove them because he doesn't ever want to forget the things that they had to go through, and they fought. This is over 50 years ago, and we're still fighting this same fight today, which is amazing to me. And in ways, it seems like we've gone backwards at times. So there's one thing I'm jumping subjects. I don't want to leave out, especially being speaking to a school with young students and actually seniors on the call. But when I agreed to take the job with the Dodgers, I remember agreeing with the general manager. 30 minutes after I hung up that phone, I got a phone call from University of Phoenix saying I'd passed my last class, and I got my college degree. So I did go back and get my college degree at the age of 40, and I'm just as proud of that moment of as any moment that I played in baseball. And I know my mom would have wanted me to do that, but I also want to do it for myself, and also I want to do it for my kids. I have 2 young boys, and I don't want to hear them talking about, Poppy, you didn't go to college. So I did. So now they have to get their education as well.
Well, I appreciate that. No, it's no easy task to finish an education at any age, but let alone age 40, for sure. Yeah, my dad, when I was growing up, he often would throw out quotes to me and sort of mantras, and one of them was a Jackie Robinson quote that basically said, "If life has no significance unless you're impacting others." Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, as you obviously have a very significant platform, and just being, having the professional success you've had, what does it look like, even when you think about your own sons? What's it look like to sort of coach them, so to speak, on what it looks like to have an impact, even in just the here and now and the kind of daily things of life?
I mean, that's one of the reasons that drives you and pushes you to do the things you do. Like now, I mean, the things that we're going for, all these civil issues and that we're going through now, this is for them. This is, like I said, 15 years old. This is going to be the world they're going to live in. We're right in the middle of our lives, I'd say, and it's about this younger generation. The younger generation is the one that's really going to make a difference, and I feel that that's what's happened throughout this pandemic with all the George Floyd incident, the incident in Wisconsin, and it's this younger generation that's finally opening their eyes. And to overcome some of these things, we need better leaders. We need better leaders in our world, and to be a good leader, we need better listeners. Great leaders listen, and I feel that we're finally hearing some of the issues that are going on, and that's what's going to make a difference. And once we hear these causes that are happening, and that's when we can find a way to make a difference and deal with some of the issues that are going on.
That's such a good word, and really translates a lot of what can be overwhelming. How do we think about societal change? If we're looking at racial injustice, if we're looking at issues of inequity, whatever the case might be, we can often get overwhelmed with the idea that we have to change everything all at once. And I love that idea of starting with a posture of listening, and not pretending like we've kind of got all the answers at this stage. And certainly that's one of the things that we're hoping to do as a school. Is develop really a culture that says we are going to listen to one another first before speaking. And I think that's something that we talk about certainly quite a bit. Well, I am so grateful for you having taken the time to be with us this morning. If we were in person, you would hear a large round of applause right now. We can have some virtual Zoom claps that are going to show up on a lot of people who are here. We've got about 600 people who are here, which we're really, really grateful for. But please hear me. Just really, I'm so grateful for you being willing to take the time. I know you've got a lot on your plate, and it's encouraging to hear not just about your story professionally, but even personally, and reflecting on not only the legacy that your mom has, and but really considering what does your trajectory look like and your own story look like. And that really, I think it serves as a really good challenge to us for how we're living and what we can do to impact other people. So thank you very, very much. We're really grateful.
Thank you. And I hope everyone had a chance to listen. I hope I wasn't too boring. I can remember hearing these morning conferences and talks in school, and so I hope I put a smile on a couple faces, but I also hope and open up their eyes, and also finding ways. That's what's so special about my mom. Here it is. Here's a white woman that really made a huge difference, and there's a number of ways we can do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we are going to finish up our time today, not by talking, but by listening, and listening to a song. The way that we're going to finish up is with a song called Up on the Mountain. And this is a song that was based on the speech that Dr. King gave the day before he was assassinated. And so on April 3rd, 1968, Dr. King was in Memphis, and he was speaking to a group of striking sanitation workers, and gave a powerful speech, which obviously can be, parts of it can be seen, and we have the actual speech and the text from it, and is well worth considering. And one of the things that he talks about is the idea that he has been up on the mountaintop, so to speak, and can see what he is hoping for, right? He's hoping for this vision that has been cast several years earlier, even at his I Have a Dream speech, that we could live in equality with one another. We could live in a place where there can be unity and peace. And he has seen that vision, but it has not been realized yet. And of course, he didn't know that the day after he was to be killed, the day after he was to be killed. He didn't know that, but he left this speech and finished the speech with a sense of hope. And so what you're about to hear is a recording. My wife and I actually recorded it. So the voice that you hear is my lovely wife singing, with some slides from Dr. King in his life. And you will see slides from him personally. You'll see even a picture of Booker T. Washington High School in Atlanta, where he attended. You'll see slides of civil rights activists and what they experienced, and even Dr. King interacting with some who were involved in the political world as he was able to pursue the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and other considerations. So we're going to finish with that slideshow. When it is done, you all students are dismissed, the lower school, to you can head back to your normal classroom teachers. And we will just end. There's a question on the last slide. So we are really grateful for all of you being willing to share your time this morning, and hope that this slideshow serves as a point of encouragement for us as we go out today. Hope you all have a fantastic day, and that as we're off school on Monday, that we are considering Dr. King and his legacy in our own lives.
I went up to the mountain because you asked me to. Up over the clouds to where the sky was blue. I could see all around me, everywhere. I could see all around me, everywhere. Sometimes I feel like I've never been nothing but tired, and I'll be walking till the day I expire. Sometimes I lay down, no more can I do, but then I go on again, because you ask me to. Some days I look down, afraid I will fall, and though the sun shines, I see nothing at all. Then I hear your sweet voice, oh, coming and go, coming and go, telling me softly, you love me so. That peaceful valley just over the mountain, that peaceful valley, you come to know. I may never get there ever in this lifetime, but sooner or later, it's there I will go. Sooner or later, it's there I will